clinches. Exactly what you gotta do. Oh, you heard it!
You've never seen a UFC knockout list quite like this one. Moments you've witnessed countless times. This list dives deeper than just the brutal knockouts.
Oh my God! Wow! Unbelievable! What?
It's about the impact, the shockwaves felt by the fighters, the fans, and the entire sport. So buckle up as we present the top 10 knockouts in UFC history. The moments that stunned, inspired, shifted perceptions, and in some cases transformed the industry. Number 10. Kamaru Usman vs Jorge Masvidal, UFC 261. This choice might surprise some, but it's based on witnessing one of the sport's most durable fighters getting KO'd. Before UFC 261, Jorge Masvidal was knocked out only once in his 17 pro fight. Throughout 49 fights over an 18-year career, Gamebred had rarely been seriously hurt, let alone knocked out cold. That's what makes Kamaru Usman's thunderous finish in their two-fight rivalry at UFC 261 so extraordinary. Usman faced a vastly improved Masvidal than the one Rodrigo Dam stopped in 2008, making the knockout even more noteworthy.
And of all the superlatives...
Number 9. Amanda Nunes vs Chris Cyborg, UFC 232. Before UFC 232, Chris Cyborg Justino was universally recognized as the scariest fighter in women's MMA, boasting 17 knockouts in 20 fights. When she stepped into the Octagon to defend her featherweight title against bantamweight champion Amanda Nunes, most expected her dominance to continue. However, the Lioness had other plans. Amanda Nunes not only challenged Cyborg, but beat her at her own game, delivering a stunning knockout. This fight marked a major shift in women's MMA. Suddenly, Chris Cyborg was no longer the baddest woman on the planet. That title now belongs to Nunes, who proudly held 2 UFC belts to prove it.
She's her bad! Nunes said she could knock her out. We're seeing that now it's real. Oh! She's hurt it for Nunes! She's still got her down. Cyborg nearly out on her feet.
Number 8. Shogun Rua vs Lyoto Machida, UFC 113. In their rematch, Mauricio Shogun Rua abandoned the cautious strategy he used in their first fight. Opting for his typical berserker style, just a minute into the first round he found his mark. Lyoto the Dragon Machida, flawed for the first time in his UFC career, soon had his lights completely turned out. Shogun accomplished what seemed impossible then, solving one of the sport's greatest puzzles. This knockout not only stunned fans, but also created an unforgettable classic moment in UFC history.
And that could have nice knee to the body. He got rocked.
Number 7. Anderson Silva vs Vitor Belfort, UFC 126. At UFC 126, Anderson Silva faced Vitor Belfort, a matchup that promised a striking showdown like no other. Belfort, a formidable striker, seemed to be the perfect challenge for Silva, who had already faced many tough opponents. Expectations were high for an evenly matched fight. However, just over a minute into the bout, Silva delivered a spectacular front kick, securing his victory in a manner rarely seen in the sport. This technique not only won him the fight, but also solidified his status as a legend in MMA. By defeating a highly skilled striker in such a dramatic fashion during a title fight, Silva's legacy as more than just a champion was firmly established.
Left hand. Outstanding head movement by Henderson. Like we said, second to none. He front kicked him in the face. Absolutely right. Trying to finish.
Number 6. Francis Ngannou vs Alistair Overeem, UFC 218. Alistair Overeem had experienced severe brutal knockouts in the UFC before facing Francis Ngannou at UFC 218. But nothing compared to what happened that night. Ngannou unleashed a devastating uppercut that seemed to carry the force of a sledgehammer. This knockout sent chills down the spine of everyone watching, leaving many amazed that the Demolition Man's head remained attached to his body. Ngannou, known as the Predator, had delivered many memorable knockouts on his path to becoming the UFC heavyweight champion, but none were as terrifying as this one.
Burning up Mick Maynard's phone to try to get a matchup with Ngannou. Oh, goes the ream! Francis Ngannou!
Number 5. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic, UFC 226. Before the UFC 226, Daniel Cormier had 9 career knockouts, but only 2 in the UFC. As the light heavyweight champion moving up to heavyweight, he wasn't expected to be the one to add Stipe Miocic to the all-time UFC knockout list. However, with a short hook inside the clinch, DC stunned the world and made history. He became the second fighter to win both the light heavyweight and heavyweight titles, and the first to hold them simultaneously. This victory also made him the second person in UFC history to hold 2 belts at once. Achieving this feat over Miocic, widely considered the best heavyweight of all time, cemented Cormier's legacy as one of the greatest fighters in UFC history.
Oh, look at that 1-2 by DC.
And then he clinches. Exactly what you gotta do. Oh,
Number 4. Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping, UFC 100. Dan Henderson's knockout power was legendary even before he joined the UFC. Soil. Despite 4 previous UFC fights, the power that defeated legends like Wanderlei Silva and Akira Gono in Pride Fighting Championship had yet to be seen. The stage couldn't have been better set than his clash with Michael Bisping, a fellow coach from The Ultimate Fighter. For Bisping's fans, it was a crushing blow to his middleweight hot streak. For Henderson's supporters and Bisping detractors, it was a satisfying moment of patriotic revenge. Number 3. Joaquin Buckley versus Impa Kasanganay, UFC Fight Night 179. The knockout of the year in 2020, Joaquin Buckley's performance at UFC Fight Night 179 is destined to be replayed in UFC highlight reels for years. In one unforgettable moment, Buckley secured his place in MMA history. After his kick was caught by Impa Kasanganay, he improvised with a stunning jump spin kick that landed perfectly, securing the knockout. This incredible display of athleticism and creativity epitomized the unpredictable nature of mixed martial arts. While the fight may not have had major divisional or historical significance, Buckley's knockout will be remembered and celebrated on KO lists indefinitely. It's a moment that has cemented his name in the minds of die-hard MMA fans forever. Number 2. Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey, UFC 193. At its core, Holly Holm's head kick knockout of Ronda Rousey at UFC 193 in front of 56,000 fans transformed women's MMA. This wasn't just a technical victory, it marked a significant shift in the sport by moving women's MMA beyond Rousey's superstar shadow. By defeating the Olympic silver medalist, Holm paved the way for new contenders to emerge and share the spotlight. This monumental moment closed an important chapter in the UFC's female division and ignited an even more exciting era, forever changing the landscape of women's MMA.
Beautiful. Beautiful. She's hurt. Hender's in trouble. She's hurt. Holly looking to finish. Holly Holm is the new UFC bantamweight champion of the world.
Number 1. Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, UFC 194. Jose Aldo was unbeaten for 15 fights since his debut in World Extreme Cage Fighting, successfully defending the featherweight title 9 times against top-tier components like Chad Mendes twice, Urijah Faber, Kenny Florian, and Frankie Edgar. Then came Conor McGregor. It's astonishing to reflect on how one of the greatest fighters ever to enter the Octagon was knocked out so swiftly. This moment not only ended Aldo's reign, but also catapulted McGregor into superstardom. McGregor's quick victory provided the UFC with its biggest star ever, transforming the league and solidifying his legacy in MMA history. And there you have it, fight fans, the top 10 knockouts in UFC history. Which knockout was your favorite? Did we miss any epic finishes? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adrenaline-pumping content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.